That's right, 30 minutes after the hour. My name's Flying Brian here with you on a fantastic Thursday end of the day countdown. And boy, oh boy, do I have a surprise, because right now in the studio, I have with me the owner and director of the Linda Matney Fine Art Gallery here in Williamsburg, Virginia, Mr. John Matney. How you doing, sir?
How are you?
And I believe you brought some folks here with you, a couple of visitors here. It's Mrs. Sofia.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. And Mr. Asif Hoque.
Asif Hoque, yes. Hi, how's it going?
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks now. I know that there's a big event going on tomorrow, but we're going to get into that in just a bit. So, John, did you kind of want to go over a little bit of...
Yes, we have 6 New York artists. 3 artists will actually be here in the area for the opening tomorrow at 6 p.m. This exhibit celebrates cultural diversity. One of the artists, Nicole Mouriño, who's not going to be here, told me about her work today, and it's really her bodega windows, and really she is saying celebrating cultural diversity no matter where you are, whether you're in New York, Miami, or Williamsburg, Virginia. You find these spaces, find these cultural nooks,
and that's really what New York is all about.
Yeah.
Like I curated this show with Lee. Originally, we started in December planning all this out, and it's been an adventure finding these artists. I'm a fellow Pratt Institute graduate. I studied painting and art history, and ever since I've been working full-time in my studio with my dog painting. And when he handed me the privilege to do this with him, I wanted to fly with that, because there's so much talent in New York. Like, we have artists everywhere, from musicians to painters to singers.
I was going to say, I've never actually gotten a chance to get up to New York, but that's where many of my favorite bands are. And by the way, like we were talking about before, I'm a musician, so that's about as close as being an artist as I'll ever get.
You're definitely an artist.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like you mentioned about New York, I'd like to at least go once in my life, and like you just said, it is the mecca of all.
It's like a soup bowl of all kinds of people, and just to be immersed in that, and like walk out your door in the serendipity of meeting a new person, going to a jazz bar at night, you know, like exploring the streets. Every street is a different vibe, and I feel like our art that we're representing in this show is just a mishmash of these experiences that we're going through in today's world and the culture that we live in. It's like we live in a world where we get flooded with information and inspiration on our phones to museums, and what do we do with that? And in our artwork, like something that ties all these artists together is that we're working with collage in a sense where we're piecing together everything that we're impacted by right now. And that's something our work is drastically different.
But with one goal in mind, just to get better. And I think New York is a place where it kind of grinds you into becoming something that, you know, you have envisioned, right? You come from smaller towns and you have these ideas. And when you get to New York, you are amongst hundreds of artists, and it's only to challenge you and challenge them, you know, and then out of that we become a lot better. And it's great.
It becomes a community. Like, we're all a family. Like Nicole's work, she's painting these bodegas. Like, bodegas are very personal to us. Like, near our apartments in Brooklyn, we walk around the street. Like, they become like a family to us, where we buy our water every day.
Sophia, please forgive me. And for some of our listeners out there that may not know what a bodega is, could you elaborate just a little bit?
So like bodegas are like street delis where they sell like sandwiches, like chips, basically like
I feel like a complete buffoon now. Okay, I should have known that.
I can give you a more like it's where for me and I live in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, and I have literally 12 bodegas surrounding my house, and I have a personal relationship with every one of them. They know the exact sandwich I like for breakfast, to dinner, to late night snacks.
There's like a sense of kind of like connection
family.
right there.
It's very family.
Yeah, that's almost like in a southern sense. People come down to Virginia, especially those folks from New York, and they're always like, "Oh, everybody's so nice down here." It's like it's a lot different,
nice,
and it's like, they ask you if they want this, and it's like up, where we're from, whether it be New York or New Jersey, it's like, hey, you just don't get that. But it's like what you guys say, that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And it's great that you're bringing it down here to Virginia. Sophia, you mentioned something about your graduating from Pratt. Can you comment on the significance of Pratt as a or for what you're doing now, I should say?
I graduated Pratt a year ago, and ever since, it's like that community there was very special, because it's not so much like just being on a campus. Like that's very rare in New York. Like other schools are spread out in buildings. Like we're in Brooklyn in a beautiful campus with sculptures, and I think what I took from that is just the interactions with professors who work actively in their field. They're practicing artists, but they're sharing their gift with these students. And I guess that was a very interesting interaction. It's like you are inspired by the people who you see every day, and to leave that was very difficult, but you keep in contact with them. And a lot of my professors recommended some of the artists in the show. And Caroline Absher, she's coming down tomorrow. She's driving from New York. She'll be here to show off her work and talk with everyone.
Amazing artist.
Yeah, she works with like beautiful imagery of the girls and her friendships, basically, like these people who have impacted her life in a significant way. And
there's strong female presence.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And also Andrew Shears, like his work is drastically different. He's like a hyper realist, and he just was studying at the New York Academy of Art for his master's. And something about him is like he's recreating reality. Like he's a perfectionist, and it's amazing. A realist
and a perfectionist. Yeah. That's how I like to try to think of myself sometimes. It doesn't always pan out, though.
Hey, for the stars, right?
What I think we mentioned we were kind of talking before, as far as aside from Picasso and the like, what are some of the most popular art styles in today's world? And I think you mentioned it kind of varies.
Yeah, I think I was saying, like we're surrounded by a ton of different kind of styles now.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess what we're trying to do is like think about what hasn't been done. How do we surprise people still when we're flooded with so much that's already been done? And I think like what I'm noticing is like artists are creating experiences and want to like change the viewer and immerse them in some kind of way. And I think with this show, we're still working traditionally, which is very
what was it? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is it, what they called it in the early 20th century surrealism?
Yes.
I guess I was like, and that was a very apathetic.
Very exciting because all these artists are developing a personal vision.
Yeah.
Some of it's figurative, but it does relate to abstraction.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, that was a very traumatic period of time too. I mean, you had the a lot of events going on in the early part of that. What else connects the practices of the artists in the exhibit?
Well, I mean, what I've noticed is our practice is very similar. Like I was working with Asif last night in the art residency that Lee put us up in, and we were just like playing music, and we need music when we're working. Like that's a special part. Like we love oldies, and like
nothing stirs the soul more.
We're playing like Frank Sinatra and like all kinds of
Blue
stuff.
Eyes.
And like I feel like when we're working, it's almost like a dance. Like you paint, you're into it, then you step back, and it's like a
you get
point
immersed
of reflection.
Music and art.
And it was very challenging
Absolutely.
because like we struggle through the process. It's like almost like it's an emotional experience where we're trying to. It's for us. I think it's for the artists at first, and then the product of our artwork is a gift to the world. And it was interesting to see both of us struggling last night, but then we didn't want to sleep until we came to that epitome of what, like, that satisfaction of where we're comfortable with what we're making.
That perfect song, you know?
Then we were able to sleep.
Wow, that is some true passion right there. And if you've just been tuning in, I know that you've been listening with passion, but I have to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to have another art discussion. 17 minutes before the hour. Eventually, I'll learn how to add. And if you've just been tuning in, we have been sitting here with Mr. John Lee Matney, the owner and director of the Linda Matney Fine Art Gallery here in Williamsburg, and two of his curators, Sofia and Mr. Asif Hoque. Now, I believe I wanted to try to elaborate a little bit. The term lineage brings to mind cultural identity. How does Lineage apply to your practice and choice of a subject matter?
So it's a great question, and so Lineage for me always, of course, means family and kind of your story, your own narrative, and it was great subject because that's what I've been working on. My parents are from a country called Bangladesh, and I moved around a lot when I was younger, and I have been in a place of self-discovery, and Lineage is, for me, looking back and trying to kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together,
exactly.
Right? So I'm exploring myself, but then in my paintings, I'm putting in information that I've just discovered, or an idea or a story that I remember very fondly, and I'm putting that out for people to see. So they have a different narrative from what they usually or they kind of have about me.
Yeah,
and
that kind of like when you said painting, again, I'm using music because that's like the only way that I can kind of sort of relate. But it's like every time, like if I try to write a song, you got a major key and a minor key, and I think like if I try to write something, depending on what kind of mood I'm in, it's like, well, if I'm in a happy mood, I'm gonna write something kind of like in a nice little poppy.
I mean, there's multiple layers on every painting. An idea isn't just one idea. It changes over time.
And how does that change form over time? I think that's a difficult thing to find as an artist, is how we're going to evolve as we keep practicing. And I think in terms of my work in Lineage, I'm reflecting almost like a diary of my life. And instead of, I do write, but how do I take those personal writings and make it more of a visual language and paint my life story? Because in the end of the day, it's, as an artist, you look back and you see this visual.
It's a window. It's a window for us.
Portal.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I had recently seen a documentary. It was like some of they listed 10 of the most important works of art that were recently destroyed or ruined. And one was like a Leonardo da Vinci sketch.
Oh, okay.
You may or may not have seen that one, but I think they used like something to like put alcohol. They were supposed to test like a very small part of the painting. It ended up ruining the entire.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So all they had was like a blank canvas that Leonardo da Vinci used to own.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like that's a nightmare for us all. Like, what if
I would really hate
studio burned down? I was left with nothing.
Yes.
I would have really hated to have been in that guy's shoes, but they kind of sugarcoat it. It's like, well,
we had an orange, a tangerine globe fall down. It was made from tangerines.
Oh wow!
Fell in time, and that was pretty bad. That was the.
For us, sometimes it feels like, as small scale as it is, we're creating our own history. We're recreating it, and we're telling everybody as much as possible.
Definitely.
It's just very exciting seeing all this work in one place and the stories.
Yeah, of course. Like I would love. So tomorrow is the opening from 6 to 10.
Excellent.
Lineage at Linda Matney Gallery. Curator Sofia Zubi and
Tate Turner is also my curator.
Tate Turner, he curated Jennifer Meridian, another New York artist, and she's older, more developed. She has sculptural pieces in the exhibit, and
excellent.
And she also shows at the Andy Warhol Museum. He does a lot of projects.
Andy Warhol,
in Pittsburgh. So
excellent. Yeah, he had the picture of the banana and the Campbell's soup can.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
Big
that
names.
for some reason.
Yes.
All right, excellent. So, absolutely. For any listeners out there, if you're interested, sounds fascinating indeed. Tomorrow it will be 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. for the opening reception.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Excellent.
And come out. It's what's going on right now in New York City. We're bringing that to Virginia. It's been a long journey curating this show. It's going to be up until September. So if you can't make it tomorrow night, please stop by if you want to see what's really happening in the art world. And
we're excited to see you guys.
Yes.
That's fantastic to have you down.
Thank you for having us.
My goodness. And once again, it's at the Linda Matney Fine Arts Gallery here in Williamsburg, 5435 Richmond Road. Give them a call if you have any other questions, 757-675-6627. John, Sophia, Mr. Asif Hoque. See, I thought I was going to get through the whole...
I'll say it. Asif Hoque.
Yeah, I was trying to get through the whole interview and not ruin it. But in any event, it was fantastic. It's fantastic to have you guys on. And I look forward to having you on again. I hope you have a fantastic time with the Lineage. And once again, my name is Flying Brian, WMBG FM 97.7 AM 740, Williamsburg's radio station. Let's continue on great music. This is The Way It Is.